Lobster is said to be 1 in 30 million. These are extremely rare lobsters. We only see 1 or 2 each year. I don't have much voice this morning, so bear with me. Had a sore throat for 2 days and now my voice is gone. But we got a beautiful morning here. We're putting 100 traps on the boat. We got to relocate them. We've got 4 traps on the boat this morning. We've already got a nice 2-pound male. Maybe we shouldn't be moving these ones. We're going anyway. After we set out the 100 traps, we got 300 to haul. We'll hopefully catch some cool stuff. This trap's very full. Unfortunately, not of lobster. Look at the mud. So the coast of Maine is divided up into zones. I don't even know what the western zone is, but it goes from east to west, A through like G. We're in zone B, and we have a decent area we can fish, but for the most part, it's pretty small. We're trapped inside of this zone. We can move around inside the zone. In different times of year, we'll fish different types of bottom in different locations. These traps are still in the location that we were fishing last year for shedders, which right now is not very good. It won't be very good for a while. So we need to move them and get to a different location where hopefully we'll be able to catch more lobsters than we are right here. This is my cousin Scott. He's coming with us on the boat now. Big old ocean cusk. Not big. This is a small one, really. They get a lot bigger than this. Like in most freshwater ponds, the ocean has cusk as well. They have nice white meat. And the very next trap is a codfish. I'm a codfish! These guys pretty much shut down the ground fishery. Low stocks of codfish about 20 years ago put heavy restrictions on the groundfish fishery. Since then, the groundfish have come back a lot. There's groundfish everywhere. If you come out here on any little shoal piece of bottom and you drop down a hook, you can't even get it to bottom before you catch a codfish. There's little codfish everywhere. The ocean is full of them. But unfortunately, the regulations still have not been lifted on them. Hopefully they will be soon, and the fishery can get back to normal. We don't catch a ton of them in our traps because our traps aren't really on the pieces of bottom where they like to hang out. But we get a few a year. So the list of challenges that we face throughout the day can be quite long, and it's not really a matter of if we'll face challenges, it's a matter of which challenges we'll face for the day. Where we fish, there's actually quite a lot of tides. Some of the biggest tides in the world are just east of us in the Bay of Fundy. I actually think the world record high tide is recorded there. But 6 hours a day, the tide will run flood, which is bringing the water in towards land, and 6 hours a day, the tide will run ebb, which brings the water back away from land. When the tide runs ebb, the current becomes very strong in the ocean, and you can see we're dealing with these buoys. They're stood up. There's actually 2 buoys on each of these, but one of them is run under, and the other one that's still out is just barely showing. We got to pull really hard on them to get them in the boat. Makes things a struggle, slows things down. We could add more flotation to the buoys to keep them up in this tide, but the more flotation you add, the more strain it puts on the first trap. If you put too much flotation, it'll actually lift the first trap off bottom and roll it over upside down. Once they roll over upside down, lobsters won't climb in them. Only crabs will. An upside down trap will only catch crabs, and we try to avoid the crabs. This is my cousin Scott's spirit animal. It's a horn dog. Wicked horny. Holy! Look at him.
Look at that.
Calico. First one of the year. Calico lobster. It's not super calico, but it's got a lot of yellow coloration on its side. This is said to be 1 in 30 million. These are extremely rare lobsters. We only see 1 or 2 each year, but this year's off to a good start. A few years ago, we actually saw like 4. So maybe we'll see more this year. It's a male. It's actually a keeper. If it was a female, we'd give her a notch and let her go. She'd be protected, but since it's a male, there's nothing we can do to protect it. If we let it go, somebody else would just keep it and sell it. So we are going to keep it. We actually have a tank at the house from when we had Bowie the lobster. There's been a lone green crab living in that tank ever since Bowie. The green crab has just been keeping the bacteria and the algae alive in the tank. But we're actually going to bring this guy home, I think, and put him in the tank for now. Figure out how we're going to keep it alive on the boat. We got to get a good way to keep water on it throughout the day so it stays good and strong. And when we get home, we're going to put it in a tank. We do need a name for him too, since he's going to be a pet. If you can think of any good names for a male calico, maybe Cal, or something to do with the calico, I think that'd be pretty cool. So in one of the recent videos, this is about all we were catching, a ton of eggers. If you're not familiar with what the V-notch process is, you can go back and check that video out. We won't dig too much into it today, because today seems to be much more exciting. We're catching all kinds of cool stuff. Little baby halibut. We actually have a lot of halibut in Maine. I think it's a halibut anyway. Flatfish, when they're small, they're kind of hard to identify. We have a short state halibut season. We're allowed 25 fish a year, and each year fish upwards of 300 pounds are caught. This is just a little baby. We're gonna let him go. Maybe we'll see him again someday. The halibut season actually opens here in a month or so, and we're gonna start doing some halibut fishing as well. They're delicious eating. You can see his eyes are on the top of his head. Flatfish lay on the mud. You can see he's brown. Blends right in with the mud. He hides, camouflage, until something comes along and then he eats. There's the 100th trap. We got 100 on the boat. We got to go for a ride now. We're gonna drop them off, set them out, and then we're gonna start hauling. Hopefully catch some cool stuff. We got the real life SpongeBob. This is an ocean sponge. This is what they look like in real life. A little different than the SpongeBob you're used to, but it's full of salt water.
I'm ready.
Wash up with it. There goes the last one. We're now gonna go get the haul, get to work. We gotta go through 300 traps, hopefully catch something cool. There's a nice egger. She's full of eggs. She's got no notch, and she's got some barnacles on her. These barnacles actually grow through a shedding process just like lobsters and crabs, and the bigger they grow, depending on where they grow, they'll actually hinder her mobility. This is something we've been doing on the short form content, and it's kind of turned into a ASMR type thing. Pimple popper. We've been cleaning the barnacles off. Here we go. She's only got 2. Oftentimes you'll find them with dozens or hundreds. She's all cleaned up. She's got her notch. She's got her snack. She's going home.
The angry sharks are swimming around inside my head.
Just a little crawdad. It's interesting. We don't really know what you guys find interesting because a lot of stuff that we consider normal out here, a lot of people have never seen before. Like a small lobster. Why would anybody ever see a small lobster unless you were out here fishing? We can't keep them. They never make it back to land. So this lobster is probably around 2 years old. It takes them about 7 years to reach their first pound. When lobsters hatch from those eggs that you saw in that last lobster, they're actually little tiny sea fleas, and they float in the water column. They're not actually sea fleas, but they look like little sea fleas, and they float in the water column. And while they do that, fish eat them. Fish go crazy on them. Then once they reach like a month or 2 of age, then they actually sink back to bottom, and that's when they become much safer, and they can get some protection from predators. So this one's about 2 years old, and we actually have a really cool project coming up. It's gonna be really fun. We're actually gonna get to see some of these early stages of life. So it's pretty cool. We're actually hauling right alongside of my dad right now. He's the one who taught me everything that I know about lobster fishing. I grew up fishing on his boat. I grew up as a young kid in my first skiff with him going with me, teaching me the ropes early. And now we're all alongside each other, kind of this friendly competition, aggravating each other on who can catch more. I would like to say we're beating him right now, but I'm guessing we're not. We're not doing very good this morning, but it's all fun and games. There are 60 traps into the day. That's V-notch number 8. This is a huge egger. Look at all of her eggs. It's estimated there's about 10,000 eggs per pound. She's like a 4-pounder, so she's got like 40,000 eggs. A lot of people will ask, don't they just shed the notch out? And you can see this one is actually shed since she's been notched, and it'll actually survive through the shed. Over time, after multiple sheds, it will eventually go away. We freshen them up each time to make sure that it survives. So he's a big mama. There she goes. We are 180 traps into the day. It's an absolutely beautiful day. We got a little tiny, smallest Jonah crab I've ever seen. Tiny little guy. Jonah crabs actually only live like 6 years. So I'm assuming this guy was like just born. But the tide is slacked up. It's beautiful. It's not too warm. It's not too cold. Back to work. So we're gonna move all 800 traps like 3 times a year, but we don't really move them all at one time. Usually we'll try to coordinate it into our schedule so we haul a little bit and move a little bit, do it gradually over time. Sometimes we gotta up and move all 800 as quick as we can. Now that's not very fun when we have to do that. Right now we're just kind of trickling them around. It's still inconvenient because it adds a lot of time to our day. Just moving those 100 this morning adds like an hour to our day. We're already behind schedule, so we gotta hustle now to try to make up for some time.
All day. How do you feel about that tail? I keep it. Oh yeah. You want to try it? 2 fingers. Yeah. This broke right here in shipping. But you want to try it? Black thing broke on the bottom.
So don't get your thumb in it.
See you later, boy.
See ya. Just met up with Dad. And it's pretty interesting. Over the years, technology keeps advancing and people keep trying new innovative things. The industry's pretty old-fashioned for the most part. So our technology's still trailing behind most of the world. This is one of the new blocks. You see it's actually got teeth in it. The idea is it makes it easier to land the traps. We tried a few different versions of these. I've never really been a big fan of them, but he said he liked this one, told us to try it out. So we got a few traps left to haul, and then we're gonna go back and check on our pet lobster back there and see how he's doing. Have a little lunch with him. Nice oversized. He's actually over by quite a bit. Look at his tail. Anything over 5 inches, we have to let it go. From that top notch down to the bottom notch is 5 inches. Stays up on his back. You can see he's way too big. almost a half an inch too big. These are the best at breeding. The females, this one's in good shape. Sometimes when they get this old, they get in rough shape. Some shell disease, old man's doing good. It's estimated they're about 7 years old to a pound, probably a 7 or 8 pound lobster, so he's probably a 50-ish year old lobster. Usually these big old males won't take snacks, but this one's in such good shape. He definitely will. He's headed home. He probably doesn't need help eating, but we'll help him anyway. He's made it this long finding his own food, going home to breed some females. Check out that male. A lot of people ask if we're allowed to keep these, and we do. These ones will just end up going to processors. So they go to processors, they'll use the body, they'll get meat out of the tail. Still a good paying lobster.
Yeah, boy!
There's a little sea anemone. These things are actually really good eating. You just eat them raw, you take them right out of the trap. I'm totally kidding.
I thought there was spikes around.
These are the spikes in the water. These are the spikes that you see on them. Here's the last buoy of the day, which is always a beautiful sight, even on a beautiful day like this. They're especially nice to see the last buoy on a rough day. We're gonna haul up these 5 traps and see what's in these last 5. Then we're headed home to bring our pet lobster, introduce him to his new home in his tank. Are we going the wrong way? We've just made it back to the house. Here is the tank. If you remember, this is the tank that held Bowie for a little while until he got weak. We're gonna put the new lobster in, whatever you guys decide to name him. We do need a name for him pretty soon. Hopefully this one does good, adapts well. Some lobsters we learned through the oceanarium adapt better to these new environments than others. Tank now is much more established than it was back when Bowie was in it. When Bowie was in it, it was a fresh tank, which can be difficult. There's been a green crab living in it ever since Bowie. The green crab has been the sole inhabitant of the tank, keeping it alive. We're about to put this lobster in it, which eats green crabs. This is gonna be interesting. We're gonna put him in. I don't know how long it'll take the lobster to feel comfortable enough to feed. Probably won't feed right away, but over time, I'm assuming he will eventually eat the green crab. Oh, he's going for the green crab. Now all of a sudden he's like, uh-oh, he's going for him.
That is so sad.
Like, I'm out of here, peace out. All right, so we got a piece of herring that we brought back from the boat. I'm assuming it's gonna take him a little bit to eat before he gets comfortable. This is a new environment. He did find his way into a nice hole. Lobsters live in holes, and it was pretty cool to watch Bowie in here. We were able to feed Bowie, and it was so fascinating to see how they eat and how they rearrange the sand in the tank. Bowie would literally move sand completely all over the tank, dig a hole in the corner all the way to the bottom. Some of you I know probably will say the green crab's a little cruel to watch, but that is quite literally the circle of life. This happens all the time, 24/7 on the ocean floor. This is just us watching it happen, being able to see it inside a tank. Pretty cool to study it. He probably won't eat, especially if he already ate on the boat. Even if he doesn't eat now, we're gonna continue to monitor him and watch him, and at some point he'll eat, and it is fascinating to watch. Maybe at some point we'll even get a live stream set up in here. I think that'd be fun. I'm super fascinated with the idea of a tank and being able to watch the lobsters. We think we know so much about, but when you watch them in here, it's like, you realize you don't know anything about him. But anyway, we'll keep you posted on this guy. Let us know names in the comments if you can think of something better than Cal. If not, that's what we'll go with. Put your suggestions in the comments. Whichever ones gets the most likes, that'll be this Calico's name. We're gonna hold him in here for the time being, study him, watch him, feed him, and some more super exciting tank projects coming soon in the future.